So if you were to intentionally misgender a trans woman, that could put her at risk of murder. You understand that? Because people think because you're trans.
I hate to ruin your polite discourse, but you.
Thank you. Thank you for putting that in this place for the whole world. Fourth installment of Real Conversations. Changed my mind. For those who haven't seen the series, this is just a series here where we set up shop, pick a controversial topic, and allow people to change my mind. Sit down, unedited, you get to see what happens when a real conversation transpires. Not set up to be a debate, just a conversation. We set up at a campus. Today there are only two genders. Change my mind. You will see three different people, a full hour of Change My Mind today, in chronological order, and I wanted you to see, specifically, three different approaches, three different tacts from the people who were trying to change my mind, regardless of the fact that we didn't change ours. So it's important to see that sometimes it doesn't matter what you do, it doesn't matter how you treat people, they are coming in, I guess we can say, cocked and loaded. And after the video, you can stick around to see where you can buy the Change My Mind shirts and become a part of the Change My Mind. Let's go.
It's all so magical. I've never informed that says someday I'm to say. Never done. I've never informed.
Thomas. Steven, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so this is just a series we do where we let people know my point of view. There are two genders. Go ahead and change my mind. It's the opposite of cable news. We're not going to edit anything out of context. You said you disagreed. I'm open to new ideas.
Well, I'm wondering the phrasing of the question. Are you arguing that there's not more than like man and woman? Or are you arguing there's not a difference between sex and gender, or?
Yeah, I think there are two genders, male and female.
Okay, so you're saying that male and female is a gender, not a sex.
Yes.
Okay, so. Okay, and see that's where I would have to disagree.
Okay, how so?
Saying that male and female is something that would be like birth. For example, you probably have a penis, a male sex organ, as would I. But
why would you assume that?
Do you?
But you assumed it though.
Okay, I did. I apologize.
No, listen. You don't need.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do any gotcha.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me that you assumed that I have a penis. Why?
Because you seem, I don't know, man.
Is it because of a societal construct?
Yes.
That's why?
Yes.
It wasn't because of my bone structure or my penis bulge?
Well, that male and female is different than being a man or a woman.
Okay.
And the fact that we have, as a society, created man and the male gender roles, and just as women gender roles, just as we would anything else the same way that we would say that, I don't know, that music is good, or that we have created it to place people into roles. And so I'm saying that if you were male or female, if you identified more as a man and the gender roles that go with being a man, that you have that.
So you're saying that sex and gender are very different.
Yes.
Okay, I understand. So that's your premise. So that's based on kind of modern gender theory. When did that start?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. So why? Let me ask you this before we get to the history. Why do you accept that premise?
Because it makes the most sense to me. argument that we've created roles such as being feminine, and we have associated it with being female as opposed to being female is being feminine.
Sure. You understand that there are inconsistencies there. For example, with your presumption of my penis. Let me ask you this then: how many genders are there?
I would say if we would say that there are two genders, being man and woman,
Okay.
and then that there would be people that don't accept either of those, and that would be in a X or non-identifying category.
But what's the number? How many genders are there?
I can tell you.
Isn't that important? I mean, the point is that before 1948 with Simone de Beauvoir and then Judith Butler with modern sort of postmodernism feminism theory, gender and sex were effectively interchangeable. You can even look on legal documentation, depending on the permit, they are legally interchangeable. I mean, this is the way it's been with societies for millennia. We've had male and female. So when you radically change that, you do have to have a number, in my opinion, and some kind of an end game. It can't just be, well, we're going to shift the rules based on how people feel. So I can understand if someone says, hey, you're wrong, that there's a difference between sex and gender, but the burden of proof at that point would be on the person asserting that they're different to tell me how many genders there are. Because we as a society, right, have to know this. We have to function within certain parameters.
And I would say that those parameters for gender would be whatever that person wants those parameters to be. If they identify as a man or a woman, or they don't identify, that would be their prerogative, and that it's not my place or your place to tell them that they have to identify with being a man, even if they are male, or they have to identify as a woman, even if they're a female.
But we do that all the time. People want to be things that they aren't, and we say that's not the case. We constantly do that as a society, so I don't understand why it's...
I'm really sorry to interrupt your conversation, but I have some logistical questions for you. My name is Lauren Chapman, and I work at SME Student Activities.
Yes.
We manage the outdoor events request process. Are you the sponsor of this activity?
It's College Republicans, actually, and you can speak with Darren, wherever Darren is. He spoke with Drew, and we have a permission. So,
Okay.
Thank you very much. So, sorry, I'd like to continue on that thought. Where were we? Sorry, I forgot.
You were talking about we do it all the time.
We do it all the time. So why is it a problem to do it if someone we know biologically is a male or a female, and that can never be changed? It can never be changed biologically. But someone chooses to say that they're not. That's a very modern idea. And the question is, why do we now have to subscribe to that? And then it gets into the idea of compulsion of compelling language. Gender pronouns. What's allowed, what's hate speech, right? It's a fundamental retransformation of society based on, from what I'm hearing from you, unless I'm mistaken, abstracts. I haven't heard a number. I haven't heard what defines male or female, only how people feel. And to me, that's not very convincing or conducive toward a productive society.
Okay, and I would argue that we're talking about, like you said when I assumed that you had a penis, when I have no idea if you have a penis or not. And saying that people...
I got a nice big penis there.
Okay. And so that when people subscribe to being... you would say you see somebody that you would presume to be male, and and you would assume that they would identify as being a man.
Sure. As you did, yeah.
Yes. And so but if you had told me that you in fact don't identify as being a man, that you identify as being a woman, I would believe that would be wrong of me to try and subscribe you to being a man when you say you identify as a woman.
What if I told you that I believe I am a bobcat?
Good for you, man.
Well, would you accept that? Would it be wrong of you to not accept it?
Yes.
Really? Okay, well listen, I appreciate your intellectual consistency. Why would it be wrong of you to not accept my identification as a bobcat?
Because if you identify as a bobcat, man, go for it. Great for you. I hope you're the best bobcat on the fucking earth, man.
Well, I appreciate it. Listen, I think you're a nice guy. I hope this has been productive, and I believe this has been civil.
Yeah.
But you do see, obviously, this is a very emotive argument that you're making, right? You're making an argument from a very emotional place, and I think it's because you're compassionate, it's because you're a good person. But, and I appreciate your intellectual consistency, but the ramifications of saying that we have to acknowledge somebody legally who identifies as a bobcat, you understand, would be insurmountable. The ramifications would be all sorts of new legal identifications that would be required, which don't currently exist. Why the conversation? I would love it if you want to sit down afterward, and I would love to sit down and have continue this conversation. I would. Well, thank you, Thomas. Are you done?
Yeah.
I appreciate it, Thomas. Thank you.
I'm Madison. I'm co-president of Spectrum, the LGBT organization on campus.
Great.
Love to talk to you about this.
Great. Thank you, Madison. My name's Steven.
Okay.
I appreciate it. You sitting down. And what is it that you disagree with?
So, I think you happen to be, you're confused on the idea of gender versus sex.
I'm confused, okay?
Yeah, okay. So, when we say there are only two genders, we often confuse the idea of gender and sex.